They say the people who can hurt you the most are the ones you never suspected. And I never, not even for a single second, suspected my own sister. My name is Lila, and for most of my life, I believed I was one of the lucky ones. I had a loving husband, a home we had built together from almost nothing, and a sister I considered my best friend. Nadia was 2 years older than me. She was the one who braided my hair before school, who held my hand at our father's funeral, who sat beside me in the bridal suite the morning I married Daniel. She was my person, my safe place, my sister. Daniel and I had been married for 4 years when the letters started coming. At first, I thought it was a mistake, a credit card bill from a company I didn't recognize, a past due notice for a loan I had never taken out, then another and another. Each envelope like a small stone dropped into still water, quiet at first, then rippling into something I couldn't control. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by those envelopes, my hands shaking as I opened each one. The numbers didn't make sense. Thousands of dollars in debt under my name for accounts I had never opened, purchases I had never made, addresses I had never lived at. I told Daniel that same evening. I watched the color drain from his face. "Lila," he said slowly, "how long has this been going on?" And that was the question that cracked something open between us, because the truth was, I didn't know, and not knowing felt like failing, like I had been asleep while my whole life was being quietly dismantled around me. We filed a report. We contacted the credit bureaus. We spent weeks, months trying to untangle the mess, but the damage was already done. Our mortgage application was denied. Our savings were frozen during investigation. The dream we had been building together, the house with the garden, the future we had planned, all of it placed on hold because of someone else's choices. Daniel started staying late at work. He stopped reaching for my hand. I could feel him pulling away, and I understood it even as it broke me. We were drowning in someone else's debt, someone else's lies, and neither of us knew who to blame. But what I didn't know then, what would shatter me far more than any credit score, was that the someone responsible for all of this had been sitting at my dinner table every Sunday, smiling at me, calling me her little sister. The investigator's name was Marcus. He was soft-spoken, methodical, the kind of man who delivered impossible news with the gentleness of someone who had done it far too many times before. He called me on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the middle of folding laundry, something so ordinary, so small, when my entire world stopped. "Mrs. Layla," he said carefully, "we've traced the accounts. The person who opened them had access to your social security number, your date of birth, your mother's maiden name." He paused. "They also used a previous address of yours, one you shared with a family member." I didn't breathe. "Do you have a sister named Nadia?" The laundry fell from my hands. A white shirt pooled on the floor like something surrendering. I don't remember exactly what I said next. I think I asked him to repeat himself. I think I said that's not possible. I think I said her name out loud, Nadia, as if the word itself would prove him wrong. It didn't. The evidence was thorough and devastating. Nadia had been using my identity for over 3 years, credit cards, a personal loan, even a lease agreement in a city 2 hours away under my name for an apartment she had been living in while telling our family she was renting with a roommate. She had built a second life, a hidden life, and she had built it entirely on my foundation. When I confronted her, I had hoped for remorse. I had hoped for tears. I had even hoped, God help me, for a reason, something I could hold, something I could understand. Instead, she looked at me with eyes I no longer recognized and said, "You always had everything, Layla. Daniel, the house, the perfect little life. I just needed a chance." A chance. As if my name, my credit, my marriage, as if all of that was simply something she was entitled to borrow. I left her apartment without another word. I sat in my car for a long time, and then something strange happened. The grief that had been sitting on my chest for months, that heavy, suffocating weight, began to shift. Not disappear, but shift. Because in that moment, I finally understood the full shape of what had happened to me, and understanding it meant I could fight back. I called Marcus, I called our attorney, and for the first time in months, I stopped apologizing for something I had not done. I told Daniel everything, not just the facts of the investigation, but the conversation, what she had said, the look on her face. I had been afraid that telling him everything would be the final blow to our marriage. Instead, watching his expression move from shock to grief to quiet, steady anger, I realized we were still a team. We had just forgotten it for a while. "We're going to get through this," he said, and this time he reached for my hand. Nadia was arrested 6 weeks later. The charges were serious: identity theft, financial fraud, and credit application fraud spanning over 3 years. The district attorney told me the case was one of the cleaner ones he had seen, given how thoroughly Marcus had documented everything. There would be a trial, there would be consequences. I did not feel the satisfaction I had imagined. What I felt, standing outside the courthouse after giving my statement, was something quieter and far more complicated. Not joy, not triumph, something closer to grief, for the sister I thought I had known, for the relationship I now understood had never been what I believed it was. Our mother wept when she found out. She called me 3 times that week. I answered once. I didn't have words yet, not the right ones. The legal process was long, but piece by piece, the fraudulent accounts were removed from my record. Our mortgage was eventually approved, a smaller house than the one we had originally planned, but ours, truly and completely ours, with no shadows hiding inside the walls. And Nadia? She received a sentence of 2 years, with additional time on supervised probation. I did not attend the sentencing. I didn't need to. Because here is what I have come to understand in the months since all of this settled into the past where it belongs. Betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes wrapped in familiarity, in shared memories and old photographs, and a voice that has known your name since birth. And when that happens, it doesn't just wound you. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about trust, about family, about yourself. But here is what betrayal cannot take from you if you refuse to let it: your ability to rebuild. Daniel and I are stronger now than we were before any of this happened, not because the pain made us stronger in some tidy storybook way, but because we chose each other deliberately on the other side of it. That choice means more to me now than any day that came before it. As for my sister, I don't hate her. Hatred would mean she still occupies a space inside me that I need. She doesn't. I have forgiven her, quietly, for my own sake, and I have closed that door. Some people will spend their whole lives taking from others, convinced that what belongs to someone else is simply what they deserve. And perhaps the most powerful thing you can do, the truest form of justice, is to simply refuse to be defined by what they did to you. I am not a victim of my sister's choices. I am the woman who survived them, and that is a story no one can steal from me.